please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
That's the SGX Nifty 11,494, 50 points up now. And keep in mind, this is a futures level. So, and we were trading yesterday on the SGX Nifty. We were to take into account the fact that we had the Nifty futures on Wednesday close at 11,417. It's now almost a 80-point gap up that the SGX Nifty is indicating. Prakash Gaba, Rajat Bose and Rahul Mohindar with us this Friday morning. Good morning, Prakash. So, we had 120-point rally from the low point on Wednesday. SGX Nifty is indicating 80 points. So, 200 points from the low point of around 130. Things have turned, or is this giving you another opportunity to take shots?
Good morning to you, Anuj. So far, looks to me that what we have seen in the last 1 hour on Wednesday was looking good to me. In fact, bank liquidity was looking better than Nifty. I would say that upside is on. As long as it bounced also from a very strong support of 11,300. So I think upside is on. Maybe we can see levels closer to 11,460. There is some resistance around 460. But if it opens the gap and stays up, looks like we could see an up move. And even from beyond that, can climb to around 11,516. So that's the level I'm looking at. So far, it's up. If we get a gap up, do we get a trap? I don't think so. But only thing is, do we buy there? Of course not. I would wait for a reaction. If a reaction comes, then perhaps would be buying opportunity. But when I look at the Bank Nifty, certainly is looking better than Nifty. And Bank Nifty can climb to levels closer to around 27,100 to 27,300, 250 zones. So there is a good chance there as well. Strong support, maybe around 26,750.
Okay, well, Rajat Bose and Rahul Mohindar are also joining into our conversation. So let's go straight to them. Gentlemen, morning to all of you. Rahul, let me start with you. Wednesday was a good day. We saw that big 300-point jump up on the Sensex. There's an expectation that there could be more short covering ahead of the Prime Minister's review tomorrow. How would you approach it as a trader?
I still think the stance on the Nifty needs to be slightly more on the neutral bend. I would really turn negative if 11,250 breaks. We held that, yes, in the previous trading session. But at the same time, I must say that we will see severe resistance around 11,480 and thereafter at 11,600. So I don't think it's going to be a straight line run up, at least intraday. And neither do I expect it to be the next few days to be a straight line upward rally. So there are going to be big block holes. It remains to be seen. Can we get above 11,480? Get above 11,600 before we turn the clock back on the bullish side.
Okay. Rajat, good morning. How are you approaching the index today?
Good morning to both of you. I would say that I broadly concur with what Rahul and Prakash had to say. I would be watching some critical levels. For me, 11,419 to about 11,488. That happens to be the critical supply zone, and if the Nifty were to sustain above 11,488, then there would be an occasion for buying even at a high level. Otherwise, let there be, after an initial surge, let the market settle down, and then you can buy. On the downside, unless 11,310 to about 11,295 gets taken out, I don't think there would be much cause for worry. But if that were to happen, then 11,250 would be retested and probably broken down. But before the Prime Minister's meeting, at least today, I continue to remain bullish. Regarding the Bank Nifty, I would say that 27,100 needs to be taken out decisively. If that happens, then further higher levels would be seen. And on the downside, 26,800 to about 26,650 is the critical support zone that I would be closely watching.
Okay, let's try and talk about some stocks then. Prakash, what would be on your list this morning?
Good morning, Sonia. I'll start with Cummins. That looks good. We can see Cummins climb to around 800 zones or even higher. Stop below 760 should be okay. Jindal Steel has seen a good up move on Wednesday. Looks like it should continue higher to maybe around 235 zones. Stop below 216. Sun Pharma from the Pharmapex, yes, can climb to around 667, stop below 640. Stock one shorting idea is Reliance Power. If it sees a slide, perhaps we can see levels closer to 32, stop about 35. Seems a weak stock here.
Okay, Rahul, good morning. What's on your list?
Good morning. I would have two buy calls, one on Dr. Reddy and the other on ITC. Dr. Reddy looks fairly solid to me, even medium to long term from these levels. I reckon if one is looking at 2680 as a near-term target, this may take a couple of days, not necessarily, a 2 to 3 day type call. 2460 being a stop loss, I'd buy into Dr. Reddy for that 2680 target. ITC showed us a really good reversal setup in the previous trading session, good volume and price action backing it. So with a 301 stop loss, I'd buy into ITC for short-term targets of 314. And finally, my short idea is on TCS. I think it's going to move to about 1980. I'll keep a stop loss of 2085 on TCS.
Okay, well, today one of the stocks of the day could be Sun Pharma on the upside because of the news flow that we spoke about. Rajat, you also have a couple of pharma names, okay, one pharma name on your list. Take us through what you're buying and selling today.
Well, to start with that pharma name, Cadila, maybe even any negative news would be taken care of by Cadila because it took support on the 200 exponential moving average on the last session. And in fact, if you observe the Nifty and the next Nifty list, that is the 100 top stocks at the NSE, what characterized the recovery was hammer lines everywhere. And these hammer lines generally gives a little bit of a continuation when the recovery happens. So Cadila is one of them. Target 420 and 427, stop loss would be 399, it's a buy. Then specialty chemicals, India glycols, it's a stop loss below 503 and target would be 539. India glycols looks pretty good to me. In fact, even short term to intermediate term, say about a month or so, it should perform well, and I'm expecting a target of 595 there. ABB, another stock that showed immense strength even on a day when the market was falling. It still continues to be bullish. 1445 is my stop loss, 1498 and 1525 are the two targets for ABB. And finally, Bajaj Finance. I strongly believe that Bajaj Finance has completed its correction and now it's on a recovery trail. 2644 to about 2650 is the target range for the day, and I am putting a stop loss below 2573. Bajaj Finance is a buy. All four buys.
Okay, all four buys coming in. So looks like a lot of technical experts expecting the markets to move up today. But let's discuss the macros as well. This week marks the 10th anniversary of the collapse of Lehman Brothers, one of Wall Street's most influential investment banks. CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin spoke to Timothy Geithner, who was the president of the New York Federal Reserve when the Lehman Brothers collapsed. Hear out that interesting chat about the consequences of a complete economic meltdown. We'll be back.
Hank Paulson said at the time, in that week in September, we were 3 days away from ATMs not working. But I think the best way to describe it was, it would have been one of my colleagues at the New York Fed said this at the time, it would be bread lines across the country for a generation, just like the Great Depression.
Did you feel that at the time?
Oh yeah, I think we felt, we had like the balance of terror.
And what did that feel like, though, in the moment?
Well, it was a crushing burden of responsibility. And I think the hardest thing was just trying to figure out what would work. What could we do? What was the art of the possible within the constraints we had?
Was there a moment at which you thought it wasn't going to work?
I think there were two scariest moments. The first was those weeks around Lehman weekend, before we had the tools we needed to break the panic and fix what was broken and prevent a Great Depression. Because that period up until when TARP was passed and Columbus Day weekend, we were managing with duct tape and string. We had very limited tools to contain what was going to be was clearly the worst crisis in generations. So that was terrifying because we felt we were really at the edge of collapse. Greenspan wrote years later that the size of the shock at that stage in our crisis, the size of the shock to wealth, the fear of business failure defaults across the country was about 5 times greater than at the beginning of the Great Depression. And so it felt scary.
Hi, welcome back. We're trying to decode all the stocks that you need to watch out for as we head into trade today. Sanjeev Bhasin of IIFL joins in now. Sanjeev, hi, good morning. I wanted your thoughts on how to approach Shriram Transport because, the holding company SVL has now been admitted to the bankruptcy process and, there's a possibility of the corporate guarantees getting invoked, more provisions for Shriram Transport, the group company, etc. You think there's going to be another casualty, in these stocks or has most of that news already played out?
Yeah, so I think it's a second time coming. The first time that news played out, you got the stock at 1,000 rupees because of the fear element, even though the company denied that they are collateralized against that. But, in a sentiment where the ILNFS problem is damaging a lot of corporate bond holdings, there could be a knee-jerk reaction. Like I said, the opportunity comes when fear is there around 1,000 rupees. And at this price, for us, it's an avoid. There are enough other stocks and sectors where we can get more bargains rather than chase something which has got a little bit of a negative overhang.
Okay. Sanjeev, hi, good morning. The other stock that will be in focus today is Sun Pharma. You reckon it can go up to its 52-week highs once again?
Surely so, Anuj, we've been contrarian from almost a year and saying from the rooftop that pharma, the worst is priced in and you'll get the pullbacks. Now I think pharma is going to be the star sector from 2019 and Sun definitely is headed towards 750. That's what our year-end target is. Sun, Lupin, Dr. Reddy, Aurobindo, Biocon, that whole basket is looking extremely good. And I would still recommend any investor that look at some of the good, well-managed mutual fund which in pharma, that's particularly Reliance and SBI. I think they can still give you a very good SIP opportunity given that we think pharma is going to be an outperformer in 2019.
From the large cap, Sanjeev, Bajaj Finance is a stock that has lost the most ground this month. I mean, it's down 10% for the month. You think it's a good time to be buying it at 2,600 or you think you could get better levels over the next few months?
So, Sonia, let me give you my outlook on the market. At 11,600, we were very, very sure that there is a 500-point correction coming. And lo and behold, we've had that. So, I think 150 to 200 may be the worst. And we think that this is an opportunity to buy. We think the most of the damage may be done. Next week onwards, we are relatively bullish on the market on stocks. And we think the US is definitely going to lead from the front. We think globally indexes are due for a huge bounce back and in that criteria India will also be part of that. So coming to your sectoral performance, we again think that Bajaj Finance is a must in a portfolio and this 15%, 12% correction would be an opportunity. So try and make a sip of it because the volatility can be there for the next few weeks. But if you do start to nibble into it, I think you could be happily making money by the end of the year.
Okay. That's Bajaj Finance, of course, has also corrected a bit in trade. Sanjeev, thoughts on Titan? That's the one which has been really interesting. It's been in a bit of a range and off late there's an indication of the range breakdown. Your thoughts on the stock at 820?
Yeah, good point, Anuj. So I'd also like to clarify my view on gold. Gold has been the worst performing asset despite volatility and fear being the highest with the rupee hitting close to 73 and bond yields at 8.12 and gold refuses to budge. So our long-term outlook is gold is no longer going to be a proxy to defensive. It's either the dollar or the emerging markets and we'd rather play the emerging market basket. And as a casualty to gold, I think Titan is going to be in a lower band despite the hoopla of coming season and a lot of variables. We still think that Titan may be headed lower rather than higher for the remainder of the year.
What would you do with something like a Yes Bank? There is some talk that we'll get to know more about the eventuality of Rana Kapoor's term over the next few days. So the final call may come through. Ahead of that, how are you positioned? I mean, this month, Yes Bank has already lost about 10% odd. At 300 rupees, how does it look?
So, Sonia, I think it's not just Rana Kapoor's succession program. It seems that there may be more on the plate than the company may have disclosed. And that's to do with the divergence which RBI has been constantly pointing out. We'd rather play the corporate-facing banks, an Axis, an SBI, ICICI, Bank of Baroda. We have a whole host of stocks there. RBL, IDFC Bank. We don't want to put too much money on, yes, we think it's overowned. Yes, there can be a pullback rally of 10-12%, but that's nothing to do with the succession plan. I think there is more to the eye than meets on the face of it.
Okay, Sanjeev, stay on. We have a couple of more questions for you. For now, Yogesh Mehta of Motilal Oswal Securities is with us. Yogesh, good morning. What are your top trading ideas? Yogesh, good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, I think there's a bit of an issue, so we'll repatch that line. Till then, let's take some more thoughts from Sanjeev. Sanjeev, is Mahindra and Mahindra showing signs of peaking out? You just see the last few days, and after the tractor sales, this stock has seen quite a bit of cool off. In fact, the correction has been rather swift.
Correct, but Anuj, let's take it with a pinch of salt. This stock from 1200 rupee come bonus is now close to 2000 rupees. So there has been a very sweet run up on the back of tractor sales, on the back of good monsoon. And I think the game changer can be the new launch, which is going to be, eating into the market share of a lot of the other players in the SUV cycle. Let's see how that plays out. But if you are going to play rural India, rising incomes, better rainfall, better disposables, MSP, then Mahindra becomes a very good proxy to that. Like I said, the stock is up sharply from the lows and there will be a routine profit booking. But if you can ignore a quarter or so of weak sales on SUV, the new game changer will be the new launch which is just taken place.
Okay, we'll come back to you for more, stock ideas and to give us your view on what the market should expect from that review meeting tomorrow. Prime Minister Modi will be having a review meeting to analyze the health of the economy. But from a market perspective, how important would that be? I'll come to you, Sanjeev, in a bit. Before that, Yogesh Mehta of Motilal Oswal Securities is with us. Let's try and resume that connection with him. Yogesh, hi, good morning. If you can hear me now, what are the calls for the day? What would the stock-specific ideas be?
Yeah, good morning, Sonia. I can hear you. And since we have seen a good pullback on Friday, on Wednesday, 11,250 was the low and closed at 11,370. We believe that this can continue up to 11,480 to 11,520 level. And for that metal sector, the Tata Steel seems to be a better bet on the long side. 609 is the closing and target could be in the range of 630 to 632 level, keeping a stop loss of 598. The other one is Bharat Forge has shown very good strength on Wednesday in a carnage day, and 664 is the closing. Target could be in the range of 695 to 697 level, keeping a stop loss of 650. The third one is ITC in the FMCG sector. Closing was 307. It is holding on to its 294, 296 band support level, and target could be in the range of 323, keeping a near-term stop loss of 299.
Okay, Yogesh, thanks a lot for those trading ideas. Well, let's discuss some brokerage calls this morning. Anisha has a list of that. Anisha?
Well, yes, Anuj, I'll start with the stock that you guys have been talking about, and that is Shriram Transport. A couple of brokerages has written on it. Credit Suisse, for example, says that the holding company has been admitted into the bankruptcy process, and this increases the likelihood of corporate guarantees getting invoked, and that's the reason they have cut their FY 19 to 21 EPS estimates, and they have reduced the target price on the stock to 1,250 now versus 1,500. Moving on to a macro call, which is coming from Ridhan Desai of Morgan Stanley. He has raised the Sensex target to 42,000 for September 2019 from the 36,000 level that they had earlier. And they've also added SBI, Apollo Hospitals as well as Prestige Estates to their portfolio, and they expect the uptrend in the Indian markets to continue. Moving on to Citigroup, which has written on the cement space as a whole. They say that the average cement realizations are expected to be flattish, maybe a tad bit higher quarter on quarter. And that is why they would believe that they would want to buy into this weakness into the cement stocks. They believe that Ultratech and Ambuja are the top picks, and they have a catalyst watch on ACC as well. In terms of the target, they have ACC at 2,000 rupees and Ambuja at 295. Ultratech, they maintain it at 5,000, and for Dalmia Bharat, it's at around 3,200 rupees. Jefferies has written on the pharma space. Of course, Sun Pharma and Spark will be in focus, but they believe that the Natco and Lupin are better plays in the pharma sector, and also that Cipla and Dr. Reddy's need to increase their focus when it comes to the pharma business. However, they remain cautious on the overall large cap space given the valuations. They do believe that the consolidation is expected to increase in this business, and the Indian focused companies will likely to be benefit. Other than that, Morgan Stanley has written on Reliance Industries. They talk about the phone pay cashback offer that Jio has reintroduced, and they believe that Jio's priority is right now to continue gaining subscribers, and that is what they believe for Reliance Jio. Lastly, JSW Steel will be in focus because Deutsche Bank has written on it. They do maintain their buy call, but they have raised their target price now to 440 versus 390 earlier. They expect their EBITDA growth of around 79% and earnings CAGR growth of 25% over the next 2 to 3 years. And they expect that the margins will be driven by the depreciating rupee as well as the strong domestic demand that they're seeing. And hence they've revised the earnings estimate, so they have increased the target price on JSW Steel. They're back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So that's a comprehensive coverage of all the stocks that brokerages are talking about this morning. We'll take a short break. On the other side, we'll be just in time for the pre-opening rates. Also, SP Tulsian of sptulsian.com will join in.